close enough.
I would be seriously impressed.
I don't think that the distance is such a problem at the moment.
If they ever managed to get it all the way over here, that would be...
You gotta this is an incredible strategy for getting the crowd to get closed in before the final. Make room. There you go. Get some T-shirts.
Nothing like generating hype with free merch.
Yeah.
I was gonna go somewhere there, right? I was gonna leave that there.
Zoinks, of course, absolutely crushing it on the megaphone.
Yeah. You know he's in his element when he's the loudest person in the room.
Yeah.
And he's so good at it, too.
Yeah, I was really enjoying it. We're up here for the opening ceremony.
Congratulations.
Hello, TikTok and YouTube.
Watching opening, you're kind of
Welcome to basically my reactions to
so excited to be
Pokemon
there.
World Spring 5 Tourism.
It's just got such a way with words, too. Just like the joy that he's got for the game, it really comes through, doesn't it?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
And,
well, GG's to them. And now GG's to
whatever's left, VGC.
My goodness, this is it.
So
this is it.
We've got James and Giovanni, huh?
James
Bit of
and
a
Gio,
rocket lineup there.
So, exactly, yeah. You asked earlier, Fareed, about, you know, the ins and outs of this game. We'll get into that. But let's just take a moment to appreciate the final battle of the 2025 season for any game. Ooh, a little introduction player video. Very cool.
Skip Bloom, got to make an appearance.
Blanderous, now the third of the group of people who have looked at the wrong camera there. But
yeah. That's on the bingo card. They're such good sports.
That's not what I want.
Whoa. It is crazy. So they win their round right at the end.
Let's play some good Pokemon, but I'm going to play better.
That's what we want.
For your Masters Finals! Please welcome to the stage from the USA, James Evans! And also from the USA, please welcome Giovanni Siski! James, I saw you walking down that catwalk just going like this. How are you feeling?
It's just amazing. I'm honored to be a part of this for the first time ever in Pokemon VGC history. Pokemon competitive history. It just means a lot to me to be back here again, which is something not a lot of people can say. Although we just saw a senior do that, so it just means a lot to me, and I'm really excited for how this is going to go, win or lose.
That's still not a lot of people, absolutely. What about you, Giovanni? How does it feel to be standing on this arena stage right now?
It's a surreal experience. I've had so many people support me along this incredibly long journey that I've had to this point now, through all the ups and downs, and I'm incredibly grateful for all of you that have been there every step of the way for me, and I hope to put on a good show for you guys.
Just one more question for each of you. What do you think you need to do in this match in order to become the world champion? What do you think is your most important goal?
I think the tempo in this matchup actually will dictate a lot, so just watch out for that.
All right. James, he says watch out for that. What do you think your most important thing you're going to have to keep in mind for this match is?
Winning.
It's a good focus. All right, we can't wait to watch you play, so we'll have you take your seats. And there are some important special guests on the floor with Gabby. Let's check in with them.
Thank you so much, Anna. I'm here with Kian and Kareem, who are supporting Gio and James. But you know, Kian, one of the time-honored traditions of a Video Game Masters finalist is preparing for the match. But I I've heard that James and Gio went to dinner together last night, and you were there. So tell me, was that a tense meal?
It wasn't that tense. We're all really close friends. Everyone was just trying to enjoy it.
What kind of question is that?
Maybe after, but we all just try to enjoy the moment of the two friends being in the finals together.
I'm glad that you were all able to share that moment. Now tell me a little bit about Gio's prep coming into the match today.
Yeah, we worked tirelessly overnight. We stayed up super late and then even worked a little bit before this to make sure that he was all prepared for this most important match of his life, to be honest.
Do you think he got enough sleep?
Oh, he most definitely got enough sleep. We worked hard for him so he could get his beauty sleep for today.
Awesome. All right, Kareem, what about James? Was he up to the wee hours of the morning practicing as well?
I know that James was practicing a lot with our friends Joe and Brady, and the three of them are all just excellent players, and I'm not sure how long they stayed up, but I know that Joe and Brady definitely put him through the ringer for testing for this match, and I'm very confident in all of their prep together.
Now, Kareem, you've mentioned that you've known James for a really long time and that having been on this stage yourself, this is a really big moment to be a part of for James. Do you have any words of advice or encouragement or anything you want to say to him before he gets started with this match?
Really just that James has always been such an amazing, dedicated person. Anything he wants to get done, he gets done. He's very determined, and I have no doubt that this is going to be the same deal. I know how badly he wants this, and I have full faith that he's going to get it.
Thank you so much. Kian, do you have any words of advice, encouragement, anything you want to say to Gio before he starts this match?
It's hard to pick like one thing to say, but Gio's been using Koraidon since the beginning of Regulation G, when even then no one believed in it, and even up until now no one really believed in it as well. So just let Gio be Gio, use what he knows, and he'll do great.
All right, well thank you both so much. I'll let you get seated to enjoy the match. Casters, back to you.
It doesn't get any better than this. Both of our Masters finalists taking to the stage and getting ready for one of the most intense battles of their life to claim that title of world champion.
I am so excited. It's been a battle of the Koraidons here, and these teams, they actually function very differently. Koraidon and Brute Bonnet, of course, on both compositions, but on one side you've got the Shadow Rider, and on the other side you've got Lunala. I think we're talking about tempo coming into this. You've got to pay attention to the offense that Giovanni has on his team. You've got Choice Scarf Chi-Yu. You've got this Flutter Mane, which of course can Icy Wind, allowing Koraidon to deal massive amounts of damage. On James's end, you've got a lot more defense to work with. You've got this Brute Bonnet, which of course can go for a Water Terra. You've got Raging Bolt, which can actually survive even a really powerful Life Orb cause combat from the Koraidon. And so I think what's really going to dictate this set is the early turns. Is James able to match Giovanni's offense? Can he play defense to survive a couple of turns and really survive all the damage that Giovanni has to offer?
And it's not even just about the tempo, it's also just about the natural speed that all of these Pokemon are going to have. Taking a look at Gio's team in particular, you look at something like that Chi-Yu that's holding the Choice Scarf, the Flutter Mane under photosynthesis conditions, as well as this Koraidon holding the Life Orb. They tend to be trained to be just a bit on the faster side. So I wonder how James's own Koraidon is going to stack up against that.
Yeah, and these Koraidon sets are different as well, right? On one hand, you have this Life Orb Koraidon that hits for really hard. On the other hand, it is the clear Amulet Koraidon. These generally don't have as much one-hit KO pressure, especially with that fighting type attack. It's Life Orb close combat on one side, it's Collision Course on the other side. But I think from Giovanni's end, you have the ability to just double up, punch, and get knockout after knockout. So from James's end, I'm looking, what is your response? What is your defense? And two big tools I think that you should pay attention to in this matchup are going to be the Raging Bolt and the actual Brute Bonnet, which you wouldn't expect to be super strong in an opposing Sun matchup, but Brute Bonnet with that Water Terra can be super good defensively to get a Spore off.
And also just the Sucker Punch. You have Sucker Punch as well as Thunderclap, two priority options that James has available from that Brute Bonnet and Raging Bolt. So if you think that natural speed that Giovanni has on his team is going to be a problem, priority moves are one way to bypass that.
I absolutely love that point because look at the Flutter Mane, look at the Chi-Yu. These are Pokemon that are really frail. Thunderclap can actually do so much damage to a Flutter Mane that doesn't have bulk when you have that photosynthesis sun boost. Similarly, Sucker Punch from Brute Bonnet will allow you to do a lot as well. And so priority is a nice way to get around the fact that James does have to worry a little bit about the fast speed from the opposing side. He's got a lot of options on this team. I think the two non-restricteds that I am paying the most attention to are Brute Bonnet and Raging Bolt. But I think Incineroar is also interesting because you can weave in some cool plays with Helping Hand.
The helping hand is going to be nice, but especially because you have the Intimidate on the Incineroar. As you already called out, the Life Orb that Geo's Koraidon is going to be holding. It's notably not Clear Amulet. There's no way for you to actually protect your own Koraidon from taking Intimidate attack drops.
Absolutely. Taking a look, of course, on the other side, we've got similar Pokemon here with the Koraidon and Brute Bonnet. Both of these Brute Bonnets crucially being Water Terra. But, of course, Geo has a lot of options in terms of speed control. You can use that Flutter Mane to drop your opponent's speed immediately. And there's the Lunala-Ursa-Luna combination as well. What makes Geo's team so threatening is you don't really know what mode he's going to commit to. You can lead Flutter Mane with Koraidon. You can lead Koraidon with Chi-Yu. You can lead Lunala, set up Trick Room, get Ursa-Luna in. The options feel endless, and it's really difficult to pinpoint a play that allows you to cover for all of those.
That's kind of the big signature calling card of a lot of these teams that have something like those faster Pokemon as well as access to Trick Room. You really do have to make sure that you play your cards right. And Geo's position, we often see sometimes those types of teams backfire. If you don't get the Trick Room set up at the right time, that's something that your opponent can capitalize on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look at the offense that Geo's team has to offer, it's really scary for James, right? Flutter Mane alone. You've got a Moonblast that's 4 times super effective in a Koraidon. You've got a Shadow Ball into that Shadow Rider as well. That Pokemon can handle the restricteds. Chi-Yu is so commonly used in the format to deal with Calyrex Shadow Rider as well. Geo has so much offense.
There's so much offense, but there is so much veterancy with both of these trainers that are on our stage right now. Each of them using their restricted duos the entirety of the Regulation I double restricted format. On the one hand, you have James Evans that comes in off the back of being able to get top 32 at NAIC as well as a top 16 at the Milwaukee Regional Championships with the 4 of the same Pokemon that are on his World Championship team. The only difference is that he used to have a Galarian Weezing on that team as well as a Chi-Yu of his own that he has now swapped out for Incineroar and Landorus Incarnate respectively.
Absolutely. In a format that feels like there's so much volatility, so many different combinations that you can pick from in terms of restricteds, these players have been on this since day one. They have truly mastered what it takes to use Calyrex and Koraidon plus Lunala. And there's been a little bit of adaptation from James, but from Geo's end, he's actually been on the same 6 Pokemon basically since the very beginning, and he has gotten so much mastery. This was not a team that a lot of people actually had pegged as a favorite coming into this event, and both of them are using restricted duels that were not in the top 4 of usage rates.
And Geo, the power and the conviction that he's had to run this team since the very beginning is something that he's been heavily rewarded for. His season has been phenomenal. And it's, as coming in as a trainer that hasn't had a major win yet, imagine if this is the one. Imagine if you have stuck to your guns and you're going to win the World Championships as your first major title.
There's so much pressure on the line here. I know both players are also so excited to, of course, be here. And it's been an incredible journey. Of course, James Evans won the Senior Division World Championships many, many years ago. He's won the North American International Championships. He's won multiple regional titles. He has won so much in competitive Pokemon. He's looking to win Worlds once again. Like you said, Geo's chasing for literally his very first title. I think he's not made it past top 8 in any tournament before, and here he is now in the finals.
Well, let's get ready to go. This is a best of 3 for all the marbles. The World Championship title on the line. Make some noise as we get into game number 1.
Oh, wow. Okay, in a restricted format, there's actually no restricteds to hit the field to start the game.
That is wild. We are going to see Geo have that Flutter Mane next to that Toy Scarf Chi-Yu. And for James Evans, he's opted into bringing that Incineroar next to the Brute Bonnet to start.
So, yeah, I think the Brute Bonnet is a really good defensive option from James's end because you have that Water Terra. Geo does not have a way to really take advantage of that and hit you for super effective damage, right? So, right now, Incineroar is, of course, applying Fake Out pressure immediately into the Chi-Yu slot. Chi-Yu could go for a Ghost Terra to get around that, but do you really want to commit to that? And then, of course, Brute Bonnet right now on James's end can launch a Spore, can go for that Water Terra defensively. You don't feint to a Fire-type attack or a Fairy-type attack. And so, my question is, how does Geo respond to this? Do you have your own Brute Bonnet to switch into? Because if so, that means you drop one of your restricteds. I like this defensive lead from James's end, knowing Brute Bonnet can really, really start slowing down the pressure that you want to apply.
Well, there aren't going to be any swaps. It's just a terrestrialization to start off our first game, and it is the Brute Bonnet as a James terrestrialization Pokemon of choice in game number 1. Brute Bonnet, the Water Terra, as you called out, such a nice defensive typing to have, not even just against those fire types from this Chi-Yu and Koraidon, but of course, because of that Flutter Mane. As you see the Incineroar go for the fake out. It's going to stop the Chi Yu in its tracks for this turn, but the Moonblast still does a lot for its troubles, though. This Brute Bonnet is able to land a Spore into the Chi Yu, one of the biggest offensive pieces here for Geo.
The Geo slows down the Chi Yu, but Chi Yu actually isn't really the biggest threat to Brute Bonnet and Incineroar right now, right? And so Fluttermane, that beats of Ruin, giving you that special defense drop, allowing you to do even more damage to Brute Bonnet. This Brute Bonnet can't protect, so you are vulnerable to just eating up another Moonblast right now. Of course, it has the ability to go for Sucker Punch, try to break that Fluttermane's Focus Sash. You could double up into that slot. Fluttermane does have the ability to go for Protect, allowing Incineroar to maybe launch an attack right now. But James has slowed down some of the offense, but Geo still has so much coming out from this Fluttermane right now.
And the Chi Yu, while it has to take that mandatory turn of sleep, it could wake up on the next turn, and so you're really only stopping his Chi Yu for just a short while. And Geo doesn't want to take the risk, actually decides to put the Fluttermane back in its Pokeball for later, and brings out a Brute Bonnet of his own, maybe suspecting that a Spore would be going into that Fluttermane's way. It's also going to get past this Sucker Punch, and that's going to fail as this Chi Yu does take a turn of sleep.
So the Brute Bonnet is in the back. There is an answer to the sleep here, and you've actually gotten enough damage onto the opposing Brute Bonnet where you do pressure, of course, with damage from the Seed Bomb on your own end. That is the one way you can hit it for super effective damage. And so I wasn't expecting Geo to drop one of his restricteds coming into this. I think my guess is it's probably that Lunala. We'll have to wait and see. But right now you have gotten the Terra out from the opposing side, and your Brute Bonnet is looking pretty scary right now. If you win the Brute Bonnet war, then you can, of course, apply pressure and then start putting things to sleep with Spore yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you could Seed Bomb this, or, you know, the Brute Bonnet is also no longer Grass type, so just Spore that slot safely as well.
Let's see. I think what's so interesting about this matchup coming into it is both players had so much time to prepare for it, and I think this game now looks so different from then if they had just played immediately, say, yesterday, right? And so both players have had so much preparation time. Chi Yu is going to stay asleep here.
Another turn here for James to take advantage of as the Brute Bonnet does go for the Spore. In case that Chi Yu had woken up on this turn, we do have the knockoff into Geo's Brute Bonnet, which will knock off the Citrus Berry as Brute Bonnet fires off a Spore of its own, putting this Incineroar to sleep.
It has been such a defensive game to start. Like, we have not seen a restricted Pokemon hit the field yet. Everyone has just been trading sleep left and right. And I think it's a little bit scary right now because you know if you switch in your restricted Pokemon and it gets put to sleep, it's probably just going to be rendered useless in this battle. And so both players are really wary of that. They don't want to make that switch out. Chi Yu right now is exerting, of course, offensive pressure onto the Brute Bonnet. Should it manage to wake up, it can go for something like that Dark Pulse and target down that Brute Bonnet. So we're going to see another switch from Giovanni.
Geo now removing the Brute Bonnet and deciding to switch the Koraidon in its place. So all 4 Pokemon for Geo in this game number 1 have been revealed. But notably, this Koraidon is going to be setting the sun and giving a photosynthesis boost over to James's own Brute Bonnet. But what about the sun is setting itself up for this Chi Yu as we see Incineroar, the first to move here, taking its turn of sleep. Sucker Punch into the Chi Yu, so you know it might be able to go for an attack on this turn, but it stays asleep. Another critical turn of sleep here for James.
Crucially staying asleep. That was an opportunity to maybe wake up and get a Dark Pulse off. However, now you have positioned the Koraidon in, right? And this is the amount of offense that you are looking to exert. Koraidon can now go for the damage onto Incineroar, try to threaten that with the knockout, and Chi Yu then can, of course, wake up and get the Dark Pulse into Brute Bonnet. I don't think Chi Yu feigns from another Sucker Punch either, right? And so Geo took a little bit of a risk there because with Koraidon switching in, it could have been Spore into that slot, but are you really going to Spore the Brute Bonnet? And so it's a great bait by Geo, and now he has finally gotten the offense out in the field. This is going to be a really big turn. Can James even play defense here? I think the best thing to do is maybe if you have that Shadow Rider, switch it in and take a fighting type attack on that Incineroar slot.
But what if Geo calls that and actually decides to go after an attack onto this Brute Bonnet instead? Incineroar wakes up and goes for Helping Hand onto the Brute Bonnet, and that's one way that you can make sure this Incineroar does something on this turn. The Sucker Punch into the Chi Yu, that was enough damage to get the knockout, and so Geo is not able to utilize this Chi Yu at all this game number 1.
Yeah, Sucker Punch itself won't get the knockout. You see Flame Charge come out as well. I think part of what Geo's thinking is I want that speed boost, and I think you're probably going to switch Incineroar out, but it's an incredible turn for James there as he manages to get the wake up that gives him the extra damage that he needs to get the knockout onto Chi Yu. And so I think that was what looked like a really scary position for James ends up being much more positive.
Well, at least you have the free switch into your own Brute Bonnet that's also going to be getting that photosynthesis defense boost, but how helpful is that really going to be when you're still trying to get your first knockout in this game? This Brute Bonnet has a defensive Water Terra. You're really hoping that your Chrome Koraidon is able to do some major damage here.
Absolutely, yeah. I think now the damage definitely has stalled out a little bit, right? Like helping out Sucker Punch was a cool way to get that knocked out, but now you don't have very much offense. You are staring down such a powerful Koraidon that's positioned so well. And the Brute Bonnet on the opposing side is of course very scary as well. One thing that's crucial to note is that James's Brute Bonnet, or James's Incineroar does not have that Flare Blitz. And so without Flare Blitz, you don't have that ability to just threaten a lot of damage onto Brute Bonnet. So I think this turn, once again, I think it's still scary for James. He got the better end of it the previous turn, but we'll see how this one plays out.
Both trainers, of course, taking their time as they know how perilous these next couple of turns can be. And James wants to save this Brute Bonnet for just a little bit later. The Shadow Runner Calyrex now going to be the Pokemon that hits the field. The first restricted Pokemon revealed for James in this first game.
And the question is, did the fighting type attack go into that side? Close combat goes into Calyrex. That's the play I was talking about the previous turn. And James now gets the parting shot off. Oh my goodness, he's going to be able to pivot out a little bit more. Brute Bonnet, of course, still has the ability to go for a Spore, can put something to sleep, but it's a beautiful bait into the Calyrex slot, and it manages to at least switch in for free for now.
That's a huge deal. I mean, Gio is really hoping to get as much mileage as possible out of this Koraidon, and every single turn that James is able to negate that damage and just continues to start to swing the tides into his favor. But what comes out now into this Incineroar's place?
That's the first question, and then the second question is, Brute Bonnet, who are you targeting, right? Sleep is such a big deal in this matchup, and this is the thing that we were talking about before we came into the game. The defense matters so much. You're looking to slow down pieces so that your offense can just start punching holes. It's Brute Bonnet coming out from the opposing end. Of course, it's Water Terra, so let's see. Where does Gio's Brute Bonnet target?
Okay, well, after the photosynthesis boost, we get to find out our answer, and it is just the Brute Bonnet that James switches in that will take that. Still not a horrible trade to have made there. A Spore onto anything is still going to be of great benefit to Gio's game plan.
Yeah, I think James is happy with that, though. You saw you did a little fist bump. If that Calyrex gets put to sleep, it probably just does not get to attack in this game. So, at least it's Brute Bonnet, which is the defensive piece. Calyrex right now is exerting a lot of offense, and crucially, you were able to neutralize the Chi-Yu in the early game, right? So with Chi-Yu eliminated, that no longer threatens Calyrex. It's still an awkward position for Calyrex, quite frankly, because your moves are Astral Barrage, you have Psychic, you have Encore, but which of those are really that powerful right now, right? The Koraidon, of course, on the opposing side also got that Flame Charge, so has the speed boost. Can threaten the Calyrex with the double up right now. We're gonna see a Terra come out.
Feels like it has to be that Koraidon to go Terra Fire. You don't want to be super vulnerable to any of those extra attacks coming through later, but for now, it's also going to help you boost up your fire type attacks in the sun, whether it's the Flame Charge or that Flare Blitz. But Calyrex knows it has the pressure of a Sucker Punch from this Brute Bonnet, but we'll see James's Brute Bonnet also take its first turn of sleep.
Exactly, and it is the close combat. It's not a fire type attack into Calyrex, but this now gives James a free switch in. Do you actually want to give him that free switch in right now? That's scary. The other thing to note, Koraidon now takes Life Orb damage. You've dropped your special defense. Calyrex, of course, can apply a lot of pressure with damage with an Astral Barrage, right? And so Brute Bonnet is not going to get the Spore off. James is willing to trade his defensive pieces, and he's looking to position his offense right now. So my question here is, do you finally bring out your fourth Pokemon?
But I feel like Incineroar just makes such a great call here, knowing that you're able to keep an attack drop onto this Koraidon. Maybe it also forces Gio to have to try to switch out this Koraidon. You can play a bit more predictably that way, but it is going to be the Koraidon. So the fourth and final for James now, also revealed in here. Both restricted for him have hit the field.
Oh, this is so scary for Gio, though, right? Like, the Brute Bonnet now cannot Terra on the opposing end. Koraidon, of course, provides that collision course pressure, and there's that special defense drop from the opposing Koraidon. So if you're Gio, you could double up onto the Calyrex here with a Sucker Punch and a close or a fire type attack. Obviously, you don't want to close combat a Calyrex, but if you go for that, and Calyrex, of course, could go for a Protect. It could switch out as well. And the question is, how do you get out of this turn positively? James has played so defensively for so long, but this is it. This is the turn to finally exert so much offense.
If you get one more knockout here, James is in such a good position to close out this game with a win, but he has still a tough call to make. Koraidon now going to switch out, wants to also try to cleanse those special defense drops, as Fluttermane is going to be the Pokemon that takes its place. Super risky when you're staring down the barrel of an Astral Barrage. barrage, but knowing if you can hold on with this focus sash at the end of the day, then you will be able to help yourself out with that speed boost. And good thing for this Flutter main, it's the Shadow Rider Calyrex. It also decides to take a reprieve.
So much defensive play from both ends. There was a lot of offense being exerted. It's going to be the Sucker Punch. There was the ability to, of course, go for a Spore, but trying to get damage there. And Collision Course, it's a fantastic turn for James here. It's going to deal super effective damage into the Brubana and get a one-hit knockout.
No way. Another Pokemon down, and only 2 more to go here for James to close out this first game. And Gio at least has timed it so that you can bring this Koraidon out when the sun has freshly expired, but you're also going to still be giving that sun over to the opposing Koraidon.
Now you have positioned yourself where you have Flutter Mane and Koraidon. There's no more Terra available, so you can just go Moonblast into Koraidon, close combat, instantly Incineroar. So then the response, obviously, right now Incineroar, of course, does have fake out pressure. You could just protect to bypass the fake out pressure. One of the key things that we've already seen this turn is, do you predict the Shadow Rider to switch in? Gio's gone 0 for 2 on it so far, right? He went for the Flame Charge when Incineroar was out on the field, and then tried to close combat, and then the Calyrex Shadow Rider switched in. So it feels like if Gio gets it right, he gets such a major advantage, but if he gets it wrong, of course, does lose him a lot of momentum.
It's hard when you have to make that call, knowing that there are so many distinct possibilities of the outcomes of each of these individual decisions, and hopefully it's all going to boil together and get you a win in this game. And so both trainers, of course, still taking all the time they can in order to make the most informed decision possible.
The focus sash is being conserved on the ghost types is such a big deal here. So here we go. It's actually a pivot immediately into the Shadow Rider, saying you might just go for a protect with your Pokemon right now.
If it is a protect, maybe Gio is able to try to read one step ahead and go for a Flare Blitz into that slot instead. That would do major damage to that Calyrex. But the Moonblast first, there's no protect. The Koraidon gets knocked out in one hit, and just like that, Gio has evened up the Pokemon count.
Oh, that's a really greedy play there.
Two.
Takes his one key turn, and that's what Gio
I think I said that wrong, but
of course, Focus Sash keeps Calyrex around for another turn, but this game, I think, is about to end.
2 speed boost now onto this Koraidon, another speed boost onto this Flutter Mane because of that photosynthesis, and even though the Incineroar comes back out onto the field, you can only fake out the Koraidon. This Flutter Mane is still free and clear to steamroll right past his Calyrex.
And this is where committing that Water Terra early with Brute Bonnet put James in a really difficult position against late game Flutter Mane. I love how Gio recognized Flutter Mane's really good into your team. I'm gonna save it. Of course, we started the game off with it. It never took any damage. It never got put to sleep. Imagine if the Spore went off into the Flutter Mane on turn 1 rather than the Chi-Yu, but James gets a little bit greedy there and gets punished so heavily. And I just don't see a way for him to win this one.
There's still a will, and sometimes that means there is still a way, but James is going to go ahead and take this turn to protect the Calyrex and at least give himself some time to think heading into the next game. Incineroar is the next to fall with a big close combat from this Koraidon. Another one-hit knockout for Gio, and it's just the Shadow Rider Calyrex that stands tall to try to get James a victory here.
Oh my goodness. I mean, if you look at this game, the key turn really was that
double
KO, or KO plus 1 HP, almost a KO. Calyrex basically is fainted, right? Like, at that point, once the Flame Charge has happened and there's the Flutter Mane with the speed boost, you just can't handle it. And Shadow Rider just didn't really do much in this game, right? It never really clicked any damage, and so I think Shadow Rider's just really awkward here to use this Flutter Mane, secures the knockout, and Gio goes up 1 game.
Yep.
So back and forth there for those middle couple of turns until that pivotal moment, as you called out, and as soon as Gio started to stack knockout after knockout after knockout together, you could see he could taste the victory out that first game, and is now 1 game away from becoming a world champion.
So I want to talk about adjustments here. I'm genuinely shocked the Raging Bolt did not come out in that game. I thought like this would be a war between Brute Bonnets, and it kind of was honestly for the first couple turns, but I thought Raging Bolt from James's end is really powerful here because it can take that special damage. You can even Terra, of course, to get around, you know, Moonblast, for example, dealing super effective damage. And so I think, you know, James was playing really defensively, and even though he was able to get Shadow Rider out on the field, like, that's not really the most powerful Pokemon in this matchup, right? Especially because it doesn't have a way to boost its damage output. It's very fast as well, but It's not going to get those one-hit knockouts. And so I really like how Gio managed that early game. If you're expecting Flutter Mane and Chiyu once again, then the question is, what are the possible responses, right? And I am definitely looking at that Raging Bolt to start because I think it can at least soak up special damage. Koraidon, of course, can also go for a Terra immediately, fire Terra Koraidon, and then just start launching damage. Go for your own flame charges. And so I think if I'm in James's shoes, one mode I would consider adapting to is Koraidon plus Raging Bolt.
If we saw the Shadow Rider Calyrex hit the field, I would have liked to see it at the beginning, but it is tough when James doesn't have that speed control available to him in the same way that Gio does. But I can hear the crowd right now. Who you cheering for?
There we go. Gio is one game away from winning the World Championships and his very first tournament. James, of course, has his back up against the wall, but he's been in so many tournament finals before, and I think he definitely has the experience to take us to a Game 3, but I think James just needs to find the position for offense a little bit more. You know, he managed to make some nice defensive plays, but never really got his offense position, and I think Gio's offense is already more impressive, and Gio was just one step ahead, and so Raging Bolt's the one Pokemon that I really have my eyes out on. I think Incineroar from James's end is nice for a fake out, but the problem is it becomes such a liability against the close combat from Gio's end, right? And so the Incineroar not having Flare Blitz, I think honestly makes it a slightly weaker pick in this one as well, because you can't do nearly as much damage to Brute Bonnet.
I almost also see a world where, yeah, you leave the Incineroar at home or the Shadow Rider Calyrex and then bring out the Raging Bolt, as you were saying, but then what about the Landorus here? Do you ever like that at all when some of these Pokemon are, in fact, like Terra Fire Koraidon, Fire-type Chiyu?
Yeah, I think Landorus feels really awkward to bring here, but it's certainly possible, especially because you have a defensive Terra with it as well. I think if you are bringing it, you have to be so careful because it means you probably have to Terra your Landorus. If you're tearing Landorus, it means you're not tearing anything else, and it leaves you so vulnerable to so much damage.
Well, our trainers are locked in. They are ready to go as the second game gets underway for the grand finals of the Pokemon World Championships. And for Gio, he is confident in his Game 1 game plan, decides to go for that Flutter Mane and Chiyu again, as well as James Evans running back this Incineroar and Brute Bonnet combo.
Okay, so we saw this played out last time, right? Fake out into the Chiyu, Terra Water the Bonnet. I think James now might be like, okay, Chiyu wasn't actually a problem that last game. It was the Flutter Mane. So now you maybe consider going for a Spore onto a Flutter Mane slot instead. Flutter Mane, of course, could go for a Protect. Gio does have the ability to just go for the Terra on Chiyu immediately. It's Ghost Terra. That would give you immunity to Fake Out and allow you to just go for something like a Dark Pulse plus a Moonblast into a Brute Bonnet. So let's see if any Terras come out. No Terras, no Fake Outs.
It's just going to be a Sucker Punch right into the Flutter Mane as the Brute Bonnet is going to take the Dark Pulse. And so there is a bit of a trade of damage, but as the Flutter Mane follows up, the Brute Bonnet just goes down with a double up here from Gio. And James has lost his first Pokemon in this second game. Incineroar still gets a chance to move and decides to go for the knockoff, so that will remove the Choice Scarf of this Chiyu and at least make it a little bit less speedy.
A little bit of split in damage there. Of course, you have the ability to maybe target the Flutter Mane down and just try to KO it immediately. James obviously taking a really big risk there on turn 1 as well, not going for that Water Terra. But you can see Gio was predicting the Water Terra, so he went for that Dark Pulse. So both players really just trying to get into each other's heads. Of course, the Calyrex Shadow Rider now hits the field. There is no more Choice Scarf on the Chiyu, but you can't, I don't think, knock out the Chiyu here. I'm not confident that Helping Hand Astral Barrage does. Maybe if you go for Ghost Terra with the Calyrex, you can go for a Helping Hand Ghost Terra Astral Barrage. Gio could potentially switch into Koraidon, give Flutter Mane the speed boost, allow it to get an attack off, but yeah, I think the main question I have here is, do you commit to Helping Hand Ghost Terra Astro, and if so, does it knock out the Chiyu?
That would certainly be a very ballsy play to make, but maybe that's exactly what James needs in order to get back into this game after losing a Pokemon so early. That's the type of aggressive call we need to see from this team.
And here is going to be a switch. I think you also could just go in and Brute Bonnet if you brought it, because there's not that much threatening it with offense, and so there it is.
Brute Bonnet now, at least this Flutter Mane can go back into its Pokeball and come back out later. As we saw Gio in that first game preserve it, and ended up being a key piece to that success. Protect on this Calyrex Shadow as Gio, without that Choice Scarf intact, can actually switch up this move as well. This is another way that you can utilize this Chiyu with those snarls. You would have loved to be able to land that into the Calyrex Shadow and also drop its special attack, but you'll also take some chip.
I think the Calyrex just is so awkwardly positioned right now, right? You're up against 2 Dark-type Pokemon, and you just, like, don't have that much offense. You can't really use Psychic, obviously, and so you're relegated to Astral Barrage. Astral Barrage just isn't that strong, right? I was like, well, the only way you can get the knockdown is if you, like, commit Ghost Terra and Helping Hand. That's just so many resources.
It's a lot of resources, and now when you see this Koraidon hit the field, I think the problem becomes even more compounded. You have the Chi-Yu as well that's going to be have a pretty good time, I think, into this Koraidon, especially if you do want to commit that Terra onto it. But then you also have this Brubonnet, which with this defense boost might be able to deal with Koraidon as well.
Yeah, I think the upside for James is now you at least have your restricteds out on the field, and you're not scaring down as much offense from the opposing side. There is still, of course, the pressure of Sucker Punch into Calyrex, though, and I think Calyrex losing its Focus Sash is very, very scary. So if you're James, do you consider going for a switch out, right, and to try to get around that Sucker Punch? Koraidon right now, I do think, is in a phenomenal position, but you also have to worry about the opposing Brute Bonnet, because if you are not able to get the knockout onto the Brute Bonnet and it puts either of these to sleep, it's a disaster. And I think this Terra makes a lot of sense. I would expect it to be on the Brute Bonnet. And it's going to be on Koraidon to start.
Yeah, Koraidon first, and then we'll see if Gio has decided to respond to that with a terrestrialization of his own. But this Koraidon now uniquely positioned to be able to at least get some more damage down, hopefully, before it does get put to sleep by this Brute Bonnet. But Gio does go for that water terrestrialization, so a great Terra here, but both of them, you know they're going for the gold now. With both of these terrestrializations expended, a lot is going to come down to the rest of this turn. That Brute Bonnet is no longer a Dark type, and as this After Barrage gets fired out, this Brute Bonnet actually takes about 70% damage.
Flame Charge!
The Flame Charge is going to give this Koraidon a boost, but as it goes into the Chi-Yu, it actually gets a knockout.
It gets the knockout, but Brute Bonnet survives the turn there. I was thinking, well, if you just double up until a Brute Bonnet slot, can you get the knockout with Astral Barrage and Collision Course? This is now a score coming out, and it's going to go out into the Shadow Rider, now putting it to sleep and putting it in a really difficult position.
The Shadow Rider going to sleep, it still has full HP, it still has that Focus Sash, but is it going to be able to actually do anything when you still have that Flutter Mane in the back? Giovanni still has one more Pokemon that he can reveal as well, but I think it's actually really big that James got that Flame Charge for the Koraidon. That speed advantage is huge.
Absolutely, I think that's such a big deal in being able to outpace the opposing Koraidon. If the sun gets stalled out, then you can outpace the Flutter Mane as well. And so I think, yeah, that was a big, big turn in terms of damage. It's going to be Koraidon coming out now from Gio's end. This Koraidon, of course, is really powerful. It should not get the one-hit knockout, though, onto the opposing Koraidon with a close combat. My question then is, can you go for a Sucker Punch in close combat, try to get the knockout there? And if you're James, you can consider protecting the Koraidon, trying to bypass a turn of sleep with the Calyrex, and hope that you can wake up sooner than later with it.
You have to get a little bit lucky, though, with those sleep turns.
Yeah.
And as we know, sometimes they can sleep for a little bit longer than you would like, but you have to take your first turn of sleep on this upcoming one.
And this is a scary one because, once again, it's like there could, of course, be a switch in into the Incineroar, but then it just can eat up a close combat potentially, right? I think that's been one of the really fun dynamics to watch. But Koraidon does go for the Protect, like I suggested, trying to just take that first turn.
But if Gio has opted into going for damage onto that Shadow Rider Calyrex instead, this could get dicey very quickly.
Oh,
Gio,
yeah.
though, actually goes for the close combat into the Shadow Rider Calyrex, maybe expecting a switch-in, something like that Incineroar would have been knocked out or put to sleep.
That turn was so scary because I could see it for Gio. If you made the call, you doubled up with a Calyrex, you might just be world champion, but it's really hard to make that play. Are you just going to ignore the Koraidon from the opposing end? But you called it, Rose. You still got to get lucky with the Calyrex. If you stay asleep, you will not get anything off with it. And so James ends up buying himself a turn. But right now, it's still difficult. I'm not even confident a Collision Course from that Koraidon knocks out Brubonnet now that you've gotten rid of your Dark typing and you have the defense boost. And that would be a disaster. So here we go. Collision Course.
Collision Course heading right into that Koraidon's way instead, bringing it down to about 70%
Oh,
of
it stays
its HP.
asleep.
And Shadow Rider Calyrex just cannot wake up. It is sleeping at the wheel as it has to take a Flame Charge. Its Focus Sash gets broken, and now it's Gio's Koraidon that gets a chance to get a speed boost and now starts to bypass the speed advantage that James's Koraidon had. Brute Bonnet follows it up with a asleep, and this is a huge turn for Gio.
Gio must be able to taste the World Championship victory, but he's still got to get there. You got to do enough damage to the Koraidon, of course. And so, once again, an opportunity to maybe double up onto a slot, but instead says, you know what, I'm going to split my damage. And this is where the speed boost from the opposing Koraidon is a little bit awkward. I think if like Gio had close combated and then you're slower than it, you can get a collision course and maybe knock it out. Instead, this Koraidon just is not able to get a one-hit knockout onto the Pokemon, and Calyrex crucially stays asleep. You know, had it woken up, Astral Barrage, that's probably actually just the win for James. And so now, such a difficult position, both Pokemon asleep. The key question I have here is, does James try to play defensively, switch in that Incineroar? If you do, though, you are vulnerable to eating up a close combat or a Spore.
It's hard to make that call to go for the close combat, though, when you know that one of the drawbacks is going to be dropping your special defense and defense. But the Shadow Rider Calyrex does wake up. It just goes for a protect. Decides to play it just a little safe, as now we will see Giovanni go for that close combat into the opposing Koraidon. It's so much damage, but there needs to be a bit more to follow it up. So maybe this Brute Bonnet is able to do just that. It does have access to that Seed Bomb, but decides to go for the Spore instead into the opposing Shadow Rider.
And that was a really safe play, right? Basically, close combat into the Koraidon, just fell asleep. I get a ton of damage off. If you switch into Incineroar, it's eating that up as well. And honestly, Calyrex has just felt so useless throughout the course of this set. It's constantly not applying that much pressure with Astral Barrage, and you are threatened by that Sucker Punch as well. So this next turn, you could go for the Sucker Punch onto the Calyrex.
Just waiting for
James,
the
you consider going for maybe an Encore or Protect, for example. You could even switch out into the Incineroar, but then the question is, how does James deal enough damage, right?
Yeah, it is so tough. Even if you go for the Encore play, is the Incineroar in the back with just that knockoff as its priority or main form of damage, actually going to help you get through these Pokemon that kind of resist that. So we'll have to see.
James really is hoping to at least get a wake up with that Koraidon, but this turn could be huge. Gio, at any point, it feels like he could just win Worlds.
So the Shadow Rider Calyrex is going to go away, hoping to maybe bypass something like a Sucker Punch, or maybe even be able to, well, look at that. Unnerve actually getting off the field means that his Brute Bonnet can actually get a bit of HP recovery thanks to the Citrus Berry that it was holding. As the
James wakes up! It wakes up!
James actually is able to go for the Protect on the Koraidon. That's a huge wake up to at least keep James in this second game. But the Brute Bonnet did go for the Sucker Punch, probably into the Shadow Rider Calyrex slot that the Incineroar came into, and the close paw combat now getting targeted into the Koraidon. James is getting a couple of good turns correct.
This is so tense, because if you don't get that wake up, you probably just, of course, get knocked out with the Koraidon, and then it just feels so tough. James has been keeping himself in this one. Now you, of course, do have the ability to go for a fake out with the Incineroar. Koraidon does have the ability to go for collision course, but it still feels so tense and so scary. But I think if James had not woken up with Koraidon or Shadow Rider on the turns that they did, the game is probably just over. So he's played really nice defensively and has gotten himself into a position where at least he's threatening a fake out now.
He's got to fake out into either Gio's Koraidon or this Brute Bonnet, and now you have to pick your poison. Which one do you think is going to be the bigger threat? Brute Bonnet does have Sucker Punch that you can throw into the opposing Koraidon, and Gio says, I'm not going to opt into that variance. I am just going to go for the Protect onto my own Koraidon, but that means that this Brute Bonnet is going to be eating that fake out. Flame Charge, though, unfortunately from James, goes for the Protect, so you're not going to be able to get that speed advantage there either.
This Brute Bonnet has been a menace, especially now that it's healed up with that Citrus Berry as well, and so James had the ability to maybe go for a double up into the Brute Bonnet. Gio just goes for it relatively safe, right? He's like, you know, if I go for Protect here, even if you double up on a Brute Bonnet, I don't think you're going to knock me out. Now, of course, the Brute Bonnet is applying Sucker Punch pressure into the Koraidon, and Koraidon is applying close combat pressure into the Incineroar. And so this is still so scary. Like, it feels like it's just on a knife's edge, but it's been in Gio's advantage for so many turns, and I'm sure you can feel so close, but he still has to get there.
James has had a couple of calls where he's been able to bring in that Shadow Rider Calyrex after baiting something like that close combat in, so that it is a tool in his arsenal to give himself another turn. But Gio is going to actually take this Koraidon off the field and now bring in the Flutter Mane that we saw hit the field at the very beginning of this game number 2, and hopefully it'll be around for a little bit longer as James still goes for another defensive play. The knockoff into the Flutter Mane is going to finish it off, but Gio gets to bring in this Koraidon for free, set back up the sun, and give this Brute Bonnet a Photosynthesis defense boost. And the 4 as well. You're putting this Incineroar to sleep.
sacrificing Fluttermane, which I think makes a lot of sense at this point in the game. Fluttermane is a really good late game option if you have that Focus Sash, right? Or if the Terra hasn't been committed on Koraidon, but it makes sense to give it up here. Now Koraidon gets this, as you mentioned, set up the Sun, and you've gotten sleep off into the Incineroar, right? So there's still this mind game of like Sucker Punch plus close combat. I feel like Gio just is playing it relatively safe right now, right? He hasn't taken any super big risks. It is getting scary though, right? His Pokemon are relatively low HP. You do need the Koraidon to knock out this Incineroar. Otherwise, Brute Bonnet is really going to struggle into. So then the question I have this turn is, do we see a switch into the Shadow Rider slot? The Incineroar slot is rendered completely useless, of course. You could go for that close combat. Koraidon tries to protect, trying to avoid another Sucker Punch right now.
It's not able to get it though, but the Brute Bonnet is going to go for a Rage Powder just to draw away any attention from the opposing Koraidon, as Geos gets to go for the Flame Charge to finish off the opposition, gets the speed boost that it had removed from itself after going back into its ball, and James now down to just his final two Pokemon, the Sleepy Incineroar and the Shadow Rider Calyrex.
I absolutely love that play because I think the main thing you're scared about right now is Calyrex switching in. Gio realizes, okay, if I give you an opportunity to stall another sleep turn, that's not great. I think that play may have just won him the World Championship. Now you've got a Koraidon that's faster than both of these Pokemon. And this is what I was saying. The Incineroar is cool, but it doesn't really do that much damage. Koraidon now will outpace the Calyrex, right? And so you can target that Calyrex slot down. You could just go for something like Sucker Punch in close combat. And I think we're about to crown a brand new World Champion.
Feels super safe for the Brute Bonnet to direct that Sucker Punch into the Shadow Rider Calyrex, and then the Koraidon to follow up with that close combat into the Incineroar. But what does Gio decide to lock in? Potentially get himself that World Championship title. And can James do anything to be able to claw back into this one? There's still a lot of HP on this Incineroar, and it's still a Shadow Rider Calyrex, one of the most powerful Pokemon that we have seen in this format.
It's one of the most powerful, but one of the reasons why Brute Bonnet has been tremendous is because of its Dark typing to deal with that Shadow Rider. Koraidon does protect here, though, to start.
Gengar actually goes for the Encore. So this Brute Bonnet is going to be stuck going for Rage Powder for the rest of the couple of turns.
Okay, ends up being the Encore, of course.
Sorry about background noise.
Into Sucker Punch, it is going to be that Rage Powder now. I think it's still fine for Gio because now you can just keep Rage Powdering away from the Incineroar. Koraidon being faster than the Calyrex will get the knockout onto it. You know, it will faint from a Life Orb tick.
Yeah.
And if it faints from a Life Orb tick, it means you can only get a knockout onto one Pokemon.
You've got either the ability to go for the close combat into the Incineroar or to try to go for maybe a Flame Charge into this Shadow Rider Calyrex. But what if that Calyrex protects? Then all of a sudden, if you're stuck with Rage Powder onto this Brute Bonnet, then there's no way for you to actually be able to deal with an Astral Barrage.
Yeah, I think for Gio, it's like you go for Rage Powder in close combat right now, you knock out the Incineroar, you know that you're going to lose your Koraidon, but then Calyrex can just go for the Astral Barrages, and so James might pull this one off.
It's going so close, but Brute Bonnet, of course, has to go for an Encore with that Rage Powder, and that will direct away anything from this Incineroar if it even survives this close combat, which of course it will not, because that is super effective. And Koraidon, that's going to be all it's able to do for the rest of this game. It's going to get knocked out to the Rocky Helmet recoil instead. So now it's up to the Shadow Rider Calyrex from James, the last bastion of hope for him into this game number 2 to tie it back up and bring himself back into this series.
This was an unbelievable comeback. Like, it felt like Gio just had the advantage, but James finds the position. Because Brute Bonnet just fakes, and that's it.
Okay, they're going to do a tiebreaker.
A game 3 between two phenomenal players from the United States. James Evans, the previous world champion from 2018 in the seniors division, and Gio Siski, who is looking for his first major title win ever. And they are both tied 1-1.
That felt so close. Like, it felt like Gio had the advantage every turn, and James got turn after turn after turn right defensively. He needed to get some early wake-ups, but he managed to pull it off, and Gio gives up some of that offense, you know, switches in the Fluttermane. The Fluttermane ends up fainting. Koraidon comes back in, and oh my goodness, like I was saying, I think Gio's got it. He's got it. It's over, but no, James manages to pull it off, and Shadow Rider finally finding the position to deal damage. What a comeback by James. That was masterful. He had to play defensively for so many turns, and I think Gio's probably thinking, oh, if I just like made one aggressive prediction in that couple of turns where I was getting baited out by the protects, I think that's it, I win. But I think he tries to play just kind of safe and gets punished for it, and James manages to weave in a victory there. I'm honestly blown away by that win.
I am so impressed. On paper, Geo looks to have the more favorable matchup. And as you were already saying before we were heading into the match, you know, maybe yesterday, Geo would have just won on the spot, won this with just the advantage from the team compositions alone. But James has had all day and night to be able to prepare for this matchup and found a way to get himself back into the match and with a chance to win the World Championship title once again.
There are so many different ways this matchup can play out. We've basically seen the same Pokemon, right? And so I'm wondering, does James now shift to that Raging Bull that I was talking about? Because we saw Geo go for the Terra on the Brute Bonnet. If you Water Terra that Brute Bonnet, you are exceptionally weak to Raging Bull. Geo has gone with this Flutter Mane Chi-Yu lead, and honestly, coming into this matchup, that was not a lead that I thought he would even really consider, right? Like, you have a lot of even more aggressive offense from things like Flutter Mane Koraidon, Chi-Yu Koraidon. Lunala has not even made an appearance in this one, but of course has the ability to go for the wide guard, which of course can be really nice against the Calyrex Shadow Rider. We also have not seen Ursaluna hit the field. I think Ursaluna would be such a bold adjustment, but it's really difficult to feel confident with it, especially because James keeps showing, I'm going to go Incineroar, I'm going to go Brute Bonnet. But if you think maybe the Incineroar is going to get dropped, Raging Bolt comes out, then Ursaluna and a mode around that could work.
It could, but it's still so tough because you're going to need to have the Trick Room set up. You want to make sure you have a turn to actually activate the Guts ability with that Flame Orb to give yourself the burn. And that's just some valuable time you might not be able to get if James decides to go for an aggressive game plan.
This is so scary for both players because you've both seen each other do the same thing in terms of Pokemon choice, right? And Team Preview has so many implications. There's nothing worse than you not making an adjustment, your opponent makes an adjustment, and you're just so far behind right from the first turn.
Well, one more game between Geo and James will decide who becomes the world champion at the 2025 Pokemon World Championships. And let's just run it back, Aaron. It's the same leads from games 1 and 2.
Not once, not twice, but 3 times, just like a Surging Strikes here, as there is such a different position here because both players are really trying to get into each other's heads, right? We saw the Dark Pulse go onto Brute Bonnet last time around. There is the ability, once again, for the Ghost Terra from the Chi-Yu, but that only gets you past 1 turn of Fake Out. Then it's a really big liability, so I think Geo recognizes, well, that's nice, but then does that actually get me enough of an advantage to really commit going for it? So we've seen so many different turns play out. And I'm curious if it's going to be a repeat of the last 2 games or if it's something new here.
It's tough because even when James has had access to the Fake Out onto the Incineroar, that's actually sometimes not a move he's decided to go for. Maybe looking at something like the Parting Shot a little bit better, but Geo actually is going to go ahead and save that Chi-Yu for later. It's going to be the Brute Bonnet that comes in, and a pretty defensive turn all around as that Flutter Mane is also going to go for the Protect. With the Brute Bonnet switching in, it means that that's going to be what has to eat the Fake Out, and Brute Bonnet isn't able to get the Sucker Punch damage onto Geo's Flutter Mane this time around.
Oh, crucially, the ability to once again go for damage onto the Brute Bonnet. That's now twice that Brute Bonnet has not terra'd in front of so much super effective special damage, right? And so now the opposing Brute Bonnet is out. There is a lot of score pressure from both sides. We thought coming into this battle would be the war of the Brute Bonnets, and that is certainly the case here.
There's so many options that these Brute Bonnets can go for as well. If you don't Terra, you're susceptible to the Spore. You can also Rage Powder to try to redirect away an opposing Sucker Punch. So that's one way that Geo can actually keep this Flutter Mane partner safe. And then you can just go for all of these Moonblasts or even just some of these Shadow Balls to make sure you're getting any valuable damage down onto either this Incineroar, this Brute Bonnet, or whatever decides to switch in. But we are going to see a Terrestrialization on this turn.
Oh, it's going to be onto the Flutter Mane. That, of course, is going to give it a nice little damage boost. And so this could be an absolutely huge turn. Giovanni could just get the knockout onto the Brute Bonnet and then put Incineroar to sleep.
Oh, there's
and no Terra!
This Brute Bonnet is going to stay on Dark type, which means that this Moonblast is going to get a one-hit knockout. It is super effective, and Geo is able to get 1 Pokemon knockout right away in this game 3.
And there wasn't even a Sucker Punch and its knockoff in a Brute Bonnet. It's a disaster for James Evans here, as the Brute Bonnet now gets a Spore off as well. Oh my goodness, I was gonna say Geo there could have maybe protected the Flutter Mane, could have just gone for a regular Moonblast, but it ends up being Stellar Moonblast, saying, you have not terra'd your Brute Bonnet so many times in front of my offense. I mean, this is an unbelievable lead for Geo. Last game I thought Geo had a big lead. This one feels even larger.
It's gonna be Koraidon that has to take that Brute Bonnet's place, but it doesn't want to be on the receiving end of a Moonblast either. James has preserved the Terrestrialization, so you are able to use that to try to take this Koraidon's negative energy away from it, but it's still a tough uphill battle.
James played a defensive masterclass in game 2 though, and found the switches that he needed to keep himself in the game. He is at a major, major disadvantage right now, but we've seen him pull it off once. And so right now, you know, the upside is that you are not threatened by one-hit knockouts from the opposing side, and you are pressuring your own knockout onto the opposing group on it. Flutter Mane Shadow Ball, however, of course, will do considerable damage. And so you could consider just going for something like a Sucker Punch on a Shadow Ball, or Rage Powder on a Shadow Ball, for example. For Gio's end, you're looking to just get that Koraidon low enough, and I think Shadow Ball plus Sucker Punch puts it in KO range from another subsequent Shadow Ball.
Feels like James is almost forced to have to go for a Protect here onto the Koraidon. Make sure you aren't going to be taking too much damage from those boosted Shadow Balls. But we do see the Terrestrialization committed, and so it's going to be that Koraidon that does get rid of its Dragon typing, now becomes a full Fire type, and maybe that means we're going to see something like a Flame Charge or Flare Blitz. Really make sure that you're getting as much out of these Fire turns as possible. But Incineroar is going to be on the receiving end of an attack, as the Collision Course now will finish off this group on it once and for all. It's been such a menace so far in these games, but that critical hit, that's got to sting.
Yeah, securing the knockout there onto Brute Bonnet. I mean, Brute Bonnet is actually very, very physically defensive on the opposing team, and so I think there's actually maybe a chance to survive that without the critical hit. But you could see, Rose, you were saying, hey, Koraidon, you know, protect. That makes a lot of sense. That's what James kept doing in that last game. Protect, make a safe switch. James is like, look, I've done that enough. I'm going to punch back with offense, and I think gets a really great turn. If you ate up a Sucker Punch and a Shadow Ball there, I think that could have been really, really scary. But I do wonder if Collision Course was guaranteed the one-hit knockout on a Brute Bonnet there, but for now, we're going to have to advance the game. Gio is going to get a free switch in, and it's going to be into Chi-Yu.
Okay, so the Chi-Yu comes back out, and that's going to give a nice special defense drop to both this Koraidon as well as this Incineroar, which is going to make sure that this Flutter Mane can actually punch through a little bit more damage. Notably, we've only seen the Moonblast. It still has a Stellar Terra Power boosted Shadow Ball that it has access to throw that Koraidon's way.
Yeah, this is so scary, right? Like, do you double up onto the Koraidon? Does Koraidon go for kind of the obvious protect? If so, an Incineroar feigns, the next turn Koraidon is just vulnerable to eating up, double up, right? And so Chi-Yu and Flutter Mane now positioned so well. You've got the speed advantage, especially because it wasn't a Flame Charge the previous turn. And so Gio has so much offense on his side. And the Incineroar, crucially, did not take over 50% last turn, but now the Beads of Ruin are active.
So that would be just one more Moonblast to knock out this Incineroar, and it still has a chance of waking up, but it's totally still asleep. Koraidon now will go ahead and go for the Protect, and as we see the Flutter Mane go for the Shadow Ball into that slot, James is hoping this is going to be enough of a saving grace to actually let this Incineroar wake up, but the Heat Wave from this Chi-Yu will be able to connect onto both targets. Incineroar does take a pretty sizable amount of shit.
Oh, it doesn't wake up!
Incineroar stays asleep!
It stays asleep, but it is the Heat Wave lock. So now my question is, this Koraidon is bulky? Can it survive a Heat Wave and a Shadow Ball? If the answer is no, the game is done this turn. If so, you keep yourself in it, and you're able to retaliate back with either damage on the Flutter Mane or a knockout onto the Chi-Yu. But what makes this so tricky, Rose, is the fact that the Flutter Mane is still so healthy. There was no Sucker Punch earlier from the Brute Bonnet to break that sash, and Flutter Mane right now feels like it's running away with the game.
Shadow Ball first from this Flutter Mane is going to go right in that Koraidon that protected on that last turn. This is a huge source
I don't think it's gonna take it.
And the Chi-Yu goes for the Heat Wave to try to finish it off. A double KO.
What's
and Gio is one Pokemon away from becoming the world champion. Someone who has hunted for a major Pokemon title win in so many events previously, dating back to his time in the seniors division alongside James. And this could be the day he cements himself in Pokemon history.
This is his moment, and oh my goodness, he's staring down a full HP Flutter Mane and a Chi-Yu. Calyrex can get one Astral Barrage off, but it's not knocking out Chi-Yu.
And as it goes for the victory lap, this Flutter Mane brings this Calyrex down to its focus sash, and it's going to be the Chi-Yu looking at this final HP to deliver the finishing blow, and just like that, Giovanni Siski is your 2025 Pokemon World Champion!
In an arena with over 5,000 live fans watching, unprecedented in crowned Olympic champions before, Gio now can call himself world champion. His very first tournament win, and what better way to do it than to win the world championships?
An incredible stage for an incredible player. Something that he has been dreaming of and striving for so long. Gio Siski, take a bow. This is your moment, your day, your stage. It's all yours.
You can see the emotions. He's worked so hard for this. And it was an unbelievable way to do it. I think that second game, honestly, it was so nerve-wracking. It would have gotten to me, honestly. As a player, you're in those shoes and you're like, I'm just one turn away from winning Worlds, but he didn't get there. James found the way to come back in that one, but he kept his composure, decides to stick with the same game plan. Both players actually going with the same Pokemon throughout the entire set. And that's Stellar Terra. This turn, this was such a key turn. James just lost so much out of it and had such little in response. And, you know, if it were a Sucker Punch, at least maybe you would have broken the Focus Sash on the Flutter Mane, but it was not enough.
What a bold call there from Gio at the end of it all. And that's why the Stellar Terra on the Flutter Mane was such a big threat. He even saved that powered Shadow Ball to make sure you could deliver enough damage onto this Koraidon that you could ensure the cleanup KO with the Heat Wave from the Chi-Yu as long as it connected.
It connects, that's right. we were so caught up in the moment, but of course if you use Chi-Yu in competitive Pokemon, one of its biggest liabilities is that it is generally using moves that can miss. It's Heat Wave, it's Overheat, it's Snarl. And so my heart really stood still for a second there. I was like, is there any chance the Koraidon even survives the double up? The answer is absolutely not with Stellar Terra as well as Beads of Ruin. So many multipliers. Koraidon is bulky, but it is not bulky enough. And Flutter Mane just ran away with the game here, doing so much damage. What an absolute superstar of a Pokemon.
Wow, well, congratulations to Gio, to Brute Bonnet, and to Koraidon for winning a World Championship. Let's head over to the stage to talk to our new World Champion.
Can we go ahead and
for your world champion?
get to the closing?
Giovanni, I keep seeing you just going like this, shaking your head. What's going through your mind right now?
Disbelief. I mean, I prepped really hard for this tournament, and I've been following competitive Pokemon for over a decade now and competing at in-person tournaments for 7 seasons, and 6 of those in the Masters Division. I don't have any words. This is just unbelievable. I can't believe that like all the work finally paid off.
Tell us a little bit about that. Everyone here is wondering what it's like to be standing where you're standing, and we know you put in so much work. There were probably moments where you felt discouraged or like you might give up. What advice do you have for people that want to put in the kind of work that you put in?
Trust yourself. If you want to pursue something, go for it wholeheartedly.
It's great advice. Now, we want to let you get off this stage and take a few deep breaths and celebrate with your friends and family, but not before we give you a chance to say anything you'd like to say to this audience or your family or anyone at home.
Thank you to my family, thank you to my friends, thank you to everyone who's supported me along the way, thank you to all the spectators here that have made this event so wonderful, and I'm very grateful to be crowned as the new world champion.
Crown you are! Let's hear it for Giovanni! Casters, back to you.
I love that piece of advice. Trust your gut, trust your instinct, and that is exactly what Gio Siski has done the entirety of this format. These 6 Pokemon are Pokemon and a team he has championed since the very beginning, and it is that mastery that has earned him the title of world champion.
What an absolute pleasure it was to watch his tournament run here. Absolutely unbelievable. And that was a very dramatic finals. It felt so tense. The first game, defensive play, back and forth, both players switching out, both players going for those sleeves. Games 2, honestly, an absolutely phenomenal comeback by James Evans. I was like, I think the game is over. I think Gio's about to win Worlds, but James continues to string defensive play after defensive play, gets it right, and manages to force us to a Game 3. And then in Game 3, it's Flutter Mane, this brand new Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. How fitting is it that it now wins the World Championships once again?
And Koraidon, I mean, talk about such a standout Pokemon. It's really been all spotlight on Miraidon since the beginning of Scarlet and Violet, and I love that Koraidon really can hold its own candle to the rest of the legendary Pokemon that we've had coming out of this game.
And it feels fitting that it was Miraidon that won the World Championships last year, and I think people were saying, I don't know if Miraidon's really that good. It had an absolutely phenomenal performance at this World Championships. I think especially in a format where Miraidon was so heavily regarded as one of the favorites. But, you know, history repeats itself in the sense that I think with these dual restricted formats, so often what is the #1 threat really, really gets targeted down. And in the end, it is this unique Koraidon Lunala team that we have not seen many other players pilot that ends up winning it all.
We have crowned 3 incredible champions in the Video Game Championship Series, starting off with our juniors division. How wonderful was it to see Luke Whittier be able to get to the finals and also win the whole thing?
Absolutely incredible run, and I think this made Trick Room look so good in that finals.
Absolutely, and looking at our seniors division that was next to follow, what an amazing storyline that we've had. Kevin Hahn winning the World Championships last year in the junior division, comes into the senior division and absolutely dominates the competition there with an undefeated streak to win again, back-to-back years.
If there's one player you got to look out for to be able to win Worlds in all 3 age divisions, like I think Kevin Hahn's going to do it. It might obviously take him a few years to get to Masters, but it's going to happen. I feel it, but we still, of course, are so lucky to witness his greatness. And you really, really, like, I think we should just put him in the Masters division and see how he stacks up, because clearly he's just so phenomenal.
Himself and Christopher Hahn, I think, are definitely big threats to all Pokemon competitive players. But as we finished out our day, we had an amazing 3-game set between James Evans and Giovanni Siski to put a wonderful bow on our Pokemon World Championships for this year. Congratulations to both of our trainers for making it to the finals, but major congratulations to Giovanni Siski for winning the whole thing.
Of course, as we take a recap and look at our top 2 players, here we go once again. You just saw the finals, nothing new here, but of course, 2 different Koraidon teams that made it to the very end here. One with Lunala and one with Calyrex Shadow Rider.
And our entire top 8 was so stacked for the Masters division. We got a chance to see our trainers battle it out yesterday through the final phases of our single elimination Top Cut bracket. And now you're the 8 that stood above the rest at the end of the day. 371 Masters division trainers come in. These are your top 8. And Gio Siski is standing above them all as #1.
And if you look at this field, there are so many players that have won championships before. James Evans, of course, a world champion previously. Hirofumi, of course, 2-time Japanese national champion. Montana Mott, regional champion. Kosugide, the senior division world champion from 2019. Michael Kellish, 3-time special event/regional champion, right? Like, this was stacked in terms of players who have won championships, but it's Gio that ends up on top. And once again, what better way to do it than for your first tournament win to be Worlds?
Look at how many Shadow Rider, Calyrex, and Zamazentis were on this screen.
That's where they were, right? This was, of course, considered to be maybe the #1 duo coming into Worlds, and it had a very strong performance, 3 in the top 8. But in the end, it was not enough for this duo, as we see, of course, the Koraidon teams making it. And Koraidon with, you know, #1, #2, and #3. There was one Miraidon in the top 8. This, of course, was the most talked about Miraidon team coming into the World Championships. Ko had a slight adaptation with that Life Orb instead of the Choice Specs and was able to pilot it to tremendous success. But in the end, it's Koraidon that ends up being the top dog here with 4 out of 8 teams carrying one.
Oh, but congratulations once again to your 2025 Pokemon World Championship champions, Luke Whittier, Kevin Hahn, and Giovanni Siski. What an incredible end to their World Championships this season.
I'm looking at this graphic and I'm like, poor Calyrex Shadow Rider is sitting there a little sad because it sees Ice Rider winning 2 different worlds, and then Koraidon and Miraidon at least get to celebrate a little bit. You know, Miraidon's like, hey, Koraidon, you can get Masters, but I'll get Juniors and Seniors. But Shadow Rider, it's won the World Championships before, you know, back in 2022, and I'm sure we'll see it back again.
After an incredible day of competition here for our video game champions, let's go ahead and celebrate all those that competed today on Championship Sunday with our awards.
What a championship Sunday! What a day of action and suspense and upsets. Thank you everyone here in person and online for supporting Pokemon, and we hope you keep pouring energy into these competitions for years to come so that we can keep watching them grow. Now let's bring our finalists to the stage from the 2025 season. Are you ready? First, let's hear it for your video game junior finalist, Sasuke Arinori! And now, your video game junior champion, Luke Whittier!
Oh.
Your video game senior finalist, Xian Lee! Now let's hear it for your video game senior champion, Kevin Hahn! Your video game Masters finalist, James Evans! And finally, your 2025 video game Masters champion, Giovanni Siski! These are your finalists and champions of 2025. Raise your trophies high and let's hear it. Raise them up.
So apparently there may be news for ZA. Maybe.
This concludes our 2025 competitive season, but the show is not over yet. One of the most anticipated moments of the weekend is coming right up, and that's closing ceremonies.
8 minutes late.
What will we unveil? I'm not going to tell you. You have to come to find out. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take some time to reset our stage and recap what we've seen so far this weekend. So let's go over to the casters to discuss.
Thank you, Anna. What an incredible way to wrap up our 2025 season.
Giovanni versus James. Congratulations again to Giovanni for an incredible win there in our Masters Video Game Championship there. We want to go through a couple recaps here with you guys. I'm Jim, joined by Chip, Gabby, and Chef. We were just chatting about the TCG finals. Chip, kind of walk us through, for any viewers that may have missed it earlier today, give them a recap here.
Well, I think the big story for TCG is Gardevoir getting the win finally. Its third year of legality at the World Championships. It's been one of the most dominant decks for each of those 3 seasons, and now it finally claims its victory in the hands of Riley McKay, a player who about 2-3 months ago, many of the TCG player base was not very familiar with. He didn't have that many high placing accomplishments to his name, but at an AIC, he got 2nd place, and he was able to use that momentum to get himself the title here at Worlds.
It's an incredible story, and congratulations again to all of our TCG winners. Gabby, give us an update here on VGC. For anyone that may have only watched Masters, how did things go in the juniors and seniors division?
Well, I mean, you just saw the winners over there on stage getting their trophies. Congratulations, by the way. But honestly, it was 2 incredible matches. You know, I think Luke had a really fun match against his opponent, and then I think the biggest story honestly came out of the seniors division. Kevin Hahn won last year in his last year in the juniors division, won again now in his first year in the seniors division. It was such a fun match to watch too. I was in the audience, and it was just, you know, seeing both trainers locked in, making their moves choices. You know, the stage was lighting up and everything. A really intense environment to be competing in, and to see, you know, the juniors and the seniors being able to hold up with all that was really exciting. So I know we literally just watched VGC, and I'm sure some of y'all are just tuning in for the first time. Go back after we're done here, check it out. My voice is gone because I was in there yelling a little bit too much. It's worth losing your voice over, I promise.
Yeah, absolutely. What an incredible weekend it was, and we're all looking forward to closing ceremonies. Absolutely. Well, we're going to start from the top here. We started out the day with Unite. Chef, we had some major storylines. Can you give us a summarization?
Yeah, of course, Unite got to start out the day. By the way, huge shout out to all of you for doing amazing interviews. You included, yes, you included. Of course, come on. No, in the arena today, it's been awesome to watch. Of course, you know, we were finished pretty early on, so we got a chance to watch it all. But for Unite, if you weren't up early enough to watch it, we started off today with 2 teams that guaranteed a brand new world champion, which is not a common thing for us. We have had some repeat world champions, but Peru Unite from Latin America South and Zeta Division representing Japan. Japan trying to repeat the win for their region, but in the end, it came out with Peru Unite on top, and they are the first ever Latin American team to win Worlds for Pokemon Unite, pulling off some gigantic upsets. They eliminated both Zeta, who was considered potentially the best in the world, coming up from Japan, and our 2-time world champions, Luminosity Gaming, who are working on winning every single international championship in an entire season into Worlds. Unfortunately, they fell just a little bit short at 3rd place, but it's because Peru was able to defeat everybody in their path.
Absolutely. We just missed out on the season sweep there for LG, but congratulations again to Peru for what can only be described as incredible grand finals. As we continued on throughout the day, we moved on to our mobile game, Pokemon Go. We had 2 trainers from the EU region as well as the APAC region facing off. That was going to be Beelzeboy versus Patamon. Coming up just short, not making it to Championship Sunday from LATAM was LNDS Harjef. Beelzeboy versus Patamon, what an incredible battle. Beelzeboy actually coming in from the loser side of the bracket, having previously lost in winners finals to Patamon. He was able to take a 3-1 victory in the first match, resetting the bracket, where he then, in a incredible 5-game series, was able to tough it out, beat Patamon, and take the title of champion. Don't forget, Beelzeboy was our 4th place finalist that ended up coming up just short in 2024. So it was an absolutely incredible story to take that next step in his journey.
You know, I actually was talking to somebody earlier, and they mentioned that Beelzebub was one of 2 competitors who came from India to compete this weekend.
That's correct. Only 2 trainers from the India region, and they both performed very well, both top cut. Again, Beelzeboy is a trainer that took 4th place last season, and this was his breakout moment. What's really interesting is that the India region doesn't necessarily get quite as much coverage on the main circuit as EU, LATAM, and NA. So it was great to see that spotlight that he does get, he was able to completely capitalize capitalize.
That's so cool. I mean, I know that Pokemon Go has a very fast evolving metagame, and you had some moveset changes announced as well this morning. Do you think trainers were excited to hear that news?
They were losing their minds. Yeah, absolutely. I was here in the crowd when they started announcing everything last night, and there may have been more energy for the moveset releases than a lot of the battles in day one. It was absolutely incredible. And it was very
so it got about 17 minutes.
It's been a great opportunity for us to really get a preview of what the new meta is going to look like before the Worlds even wraps. Well, we're going to keep moving on here. Chip, I know you talked about a little bit as well, but can you kind of start from the top here and give us a recap for what we saw in TCG?
Yeah, well, starting with the juniors division, this is where we kicked things off. We had Yuya Okita taking things down with his Raging Bolt deck. This has been a popular deck throughout the season. He was able to defeat Jose in that final match. And pictured there, we see Raging Bolt EX and Teal Mask Ogre Pawn EX, but the story of that match was really the single prize Raging Bolt, the non-EX Raging Bolt, using its Thunderburst Storm attack to target down Jose's benched Pokemon. Yuya was able to just totally control the pace of the board and really limited Jose's options. Then in the seniors division, Fuguan Liao from China, our first ever Chinese champion here at Worlds in the TCG. He was able to take down Gabriel Fernandez, which I think was one of the biggest stories of Worlds, was watching what Gabriel Fernandez would be able to do. He's someone who has won all 3 ICs this year. He won 2 regionals. He maxed out his locals. He had the maximum number of possible championship points and was just one singular game away from completing the perfect season. He was unable to defeat Fuguan, though, who had a really, really, really unique deck. Golden Go EX mashed with Joltik Box. It was really like you took 2 decks and shuffled them together and then just pulled out the best 60 cards. And it ended up working out really nicely. We saw a little bit from it in the Masters division, but Fuguan was able to get the win as a senior. And then Riley McKay, as I mentioned, to start things off here. Really cool story, you know, someone who we weren't super familiar with a few months ago. He gets 2nd place at NAIC and then just propels that forward and becomes the world champion.
It is so incredible when we get to see these trainers make their mark in history, adding their names to the Wall of Fame that we got to see at the Pokemon Museum. Just so many incredible trainers that are capitalizing and making their moment in history. All right, last up, Gabby, we just got to see all of the VG games. I know we had some big upsets in TCG and Unite. Any big upsets in VG?
There's a Buzzwole flying behind you, Gabby, just so you know. Watch out.
Okay, it was first the T-shirts, now the Buzzwoles. No, it's funny you mentioned that. Honestly, all of our upsets were earlier on in the weekend. I think that when it came down to the 3 finals matches that we had earlier today, they were very neck and neck. Now, in the juniors division, we had Luke Whittier versus Sosuke Arinori, and it was a cool matchup because Sosuke was running a team with Koraidon and Whimsicott, Walking Wake. Whimsicott and Walking Wake especially, we hadn't really seen much in the Masters division throughout the weekend, but Luke's team was very traditional. Miraidon, Calyrex, Ice Rider, had a Farigiraf and an Iron Hands, you know, very common Pokemon we've seen in the Masters division, a very comfortable Trick Room team. Just was able to stay 1 step ahead of Sosuke throughout those games. It was a very fun match to watch. I love to see how Luke was prioritizing, setting up the Trick Room, making sure the Miraidon got on the field at the right time. It was really a really fun match, so make sure you go back and watch that if you can. In the seniors division, though, like I said earlier, Kevin Hahn, our first ever competitor in the video game to win Worlds in both the juniors and the seniors division. But also, if you think about Ray Rizzo, there's a weird technicality that could mean he's first, but we're going to ignore that for now. His opponent was Xian Li from the Korea region. His opponent was running Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and Zamazenta. Again, another sort of common core that you see throughout the Masters division. But Kevin was also running a team that I'd seen him run earlier on in the season and that I'd spoken to him about at regionals. Once again, the Calyrex Ice Rider, the Miraidon team, using that Trick Room mode, making sure that you had the right Pokemon on the right field at the right time. There was a lot of high-level gameplay in this game in particular, with Xian trying to pivot his Pokemon around to give the Zamazenta in particular opportunities to go for some big attacks. But again, Kevin was just 1 step ahead, and his brother Chris was talking about how Kevin just knew instinctually 70% of the matchup going into the prep they did last night, and he was really only there to provide the extra 30% and maybe a little encouraging words before the battle started. Of course, though, we have to go back and talk about the Masters Division matchup. Giovanni Siski, our world champion, and then James Evans, our finalists, they had dinner together last night, which was kind of cool. I like sneaking in these little stories because, you know, it's not just about the Pokemon, it's about the people. And dinner was actually very cordial, apparently, but then they went their separate ways. They both stayed up late into the night prepping. But in the end, it was Giovanni's team. It was that Terra Stellar play where he was able to take the one-hit knockout on the Brute Bonnet, get that advantage, and then ultimately take this crown to become world champion. So again, you have to go back and watch if you missed it. It was some of the best Pokemon I've ever seen.
Incredible analysis from Gabby. Thank you for walking us through those battles. One thing that I just want to harp on, you just talk about the story, the community element that goes into Pokemon, right? It just, what leads to these moments for all of these individual trainers, their champion moment? So many battles, so much prep, so much community that goes into it, and it's just truly amazing to see.
Yeah, we had a little bit of that in the TCG finals as well. Justin, one of our
11
finalists,
minutes.
and Riley, the eventual champion, they actually told us that they had practiced
What's
a little
up?
bit together. I think they have a lot of mutual friends. Practiced a little bit together on the Tuesday and Wednesday leading up to the tournament. Justin told us he actually made changes to his deck list because of the games that he and Riley played together, and it propelled them both to the finals. That's a really cool story for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, Chef, I was chatting with you about this a little bit earlier, but I've heard about a giant marble. Is there anything that you can tell me about it? We got a video coming up.
Yeah, what is that?
I truly have no words that I can say about the giant marble. If I tried to explain the giant marble, it would only make it more confusing, if that helps. We have been advertising the world's largest marble for many events now. May or may not be accurate, but we've made it to the end of the road with the world's largest marble here in Anaheim, California. Honestly, the only way to really know about it is to see it.
Let's take a look.
The Unite casters descend upon Worlds 2025 in Anaheim, California. Spirits are high, but they have all forgotten the world's largest marble.
What the hell?
Anaheim, California, home of the world's largest marble. Ah! Oh, scared me.
Well, glad to see that you're okay, Chef. That looked very, very dangerous.
It was very scary. Also, let it be known, we actually screamed that long out by the line for the Pokemon Center. So there may have been about 1,000 people looking over and wondering what was going on. It was not edited to be longer than our actual screams were. That was genuinely... It was an experience, but hey, you know, we're terrified. The world's largest marble, you never know what's gonna happen.
Someone was doing a great chimpanzee impression, I heard it there. Can you reveal who that was?
I'm not 100% sure who each scream was, but I think it may have been Dupe Snacks.
Oh, no shocker there whatsoever. They had a great t-shirt cannon segment earlier, if you guys were watching in between VG matches.
Oh my
Always
goodness.
a lot of fun with those two.
I think they were born for that. They were not born to be casters. They were born to be t-shirt cannon operators.
As someone who was in the hall, in almost the direct line of fire, it was a lot, guys.
Those guys are just getting a little too comfortable in front of the camera, if you
It
ask
really
me.
was. They really were. And like, while I respect it, and you all deserve t-shirts. You really do. There has to be a safer way. Like, I was trying to give an interview. There were t-shirts flying. There were people screaming. They were doing like poses on the stage. I don't know, man.
A lot of chaotic energy for sure, and that we have here so many event activations and different activities that folks can participate in. Let's take a look at a video for everything that you folks at home may have missed out on.
Welcome in, everyone.
Welcome to the 2025 Pokemon World Championship!
This is what Pokemon dreams are made of.
What an incredible weekend that it's been. I know all of us have had a ton of fun, and like I said, the atmosphere here in the convention center has been absolutely electric. Chip, I wanted to ask you, did you get a chance to tune into the opening ceremonies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite things every single year, and it just feels like new things are happening time and time and time again. Basically getting a little bit of a concert to kick off the World Championships. Incredible.
Gabby, did you have a favorite song that you got to listen to, and what do you think of the music in general?
Oh my goodness, you asked me about the music. Jim, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
No, it's funny because I feel like I always associate big events with music, and the fact that they've started to release these soundtracks is something very meaningful for me. That being said, I think the song that Nate Wants to Battle and Anna Prosser were singing, that one just was really just hit me right here. Like, plus, you know, Anna's a good friend, and seeing her dancing on stage and just having the time of her life, like, I was tearing up.
Gabby, it was
so
great. I'm sorry to interrupt. We have another video that we want to play before closing ceremonies.
All right.
Make sure you catch all the action.
Capture all the battles.
Gear up for glory.
From LEIC to EUIC, NAIC to here, we've traveled the world together. Trainers, fans, and champions in the making. Now it all comes down to this. The stage is set, the battles will be fierce, and the excitement is just beginning. Welcome to Worlds. It's gonna be legendary.
All right, well, we are so close to closing ceremonies. You can see under 3 minutes. And I just want to say thank you to everyone here at the venue, whether it's the competitors, the judges, the staff, all these casters here. It takes a village, absolutely, to get all of this working, and it has been such an incredible time here. I would encourage all the folks watching at home, if you ever get an opportunity to make it out to a Pokemon tournament, whether it's a local, a regional, an international championship, or even next year in San Francisco for Worlds, absolutely give it all of the opportunity that you can to try and make it there, because, like I said, the atmosphere is absolutely electric. I want to get some impressions, I think, from you guys. What was the defining moment that you saw, Chef, here in Anaheim?
The opening of the arena. We've never seen anything like it here at Pokemon Worlds. It was amazing.
Gabby, what about you?
I think for me, honestly, it was when I got to interview both of our finalists yesterday. Just seeing them sort of process the moment when they realized they had made finals was really special, and I'll always remember that.
Chip, was there a moment to you that stuck out as the most memorable?
I love it when the doors open that very first day. Competitors, spectators, parents, the whole community fills these halls. The staff welcomes them in, and they get into their seats. They shuffle up, they power on their systems, whatever it may be, and get ready for that first round. Incredible.
For me, I think it's just all of the trainers and their stories. I think that especially when you take a look at the friends and family, I had an opportunity to interview actually it was Patamon's father as well as Beelzeboy, one of his friends, and just these stories of friendship, companionship, and growth especially. A lot of these trainers we get to see year after year, and you get to watch as they grow, as they improve, and as they build on essentially what is one of the probably most important things in their lives. Gabby, I mean, for you, would you say that there's, any trainer that just made their mark here in 2025?
That's a really good question. I mean, I know James Evans came in second, but, I've seen him play. I was here when he got his seniors win back in 2018, and I've just seen so much growth and maturity from him over the years, and just seeing how, how graceful he was in that finals match, and seeing him and Giovanni support each other at the end of that game, I think is something that was really, special and really showed the spirit of the game and the spirit of Pokemon. And I think both of them together just really show what this game is all about. Yes, we are competitive, but we are friends and we are family at the end of the day.
Yeah, things that you love to see. Of course, just like you said, competition is why we're all here. That's why we all spend so many hours training, spending times in game, and so many cycles of our otherwise very busy lives. In many cases, it's all for this moment. But when we look at some of the friendships that are involved and just the sportsmanship, it's very heartwarming for sure. Chip, anything for you that you feel was just worth highlighting as we get ready to wrap up here?
Yeah, I mean, I love to highlight the community any chance we get. It's really what it's all about. Lifelong friendships made through this franchise that we all love so much. People will know for the rest of our time here on this floating space rock. Really special moments getting to share them with everyone.
Absolutely. You know what? I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to go to the Pokemon Center here, but this was one of the. I gotta say, this was all the gear from this year was some of my favorite that I've ever seen. Between the jacket, between some of the plushies here. Gabby, did you have a favorite Pokemon Center item?
Oh my goodness, all? No, I bought the jacket, the Leatherman jacket, and I will be wearing it on my Zoom calls for the next couple of weeks like a dork, and my coworkers will call me out on it. It's okay, Brad, I know. It's okay.
My co-caster Butters, he saw the jacket as well. He got one not just for himself, but for his wife as well.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you guys can see, we only have a couple minutes left until closing ceremony. I absolutely recommend that you stick around. You are not going to want to miss it. Absolutely. In some cases, this is what people look forward to the most at Pokemon. I know last year we had some huge reveals, and I cannot wait to see what we're going to be having soon. Chef, did you get a chance to go to the Pokemon Center?
I did. Unfortunately, the jackets were sold out. The baseball jerseys, both of them I wanted, didn't get a chance to get them. But I did get the boogie board, which we've been seeing people carry around all weekend. And that is certainly going on my wall. It's a very cool piece. And it really is, it fits the theme of Anaheim.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? We've had such cool locations in the past. Of course, Hawaii and Honolulu, incredible environment, very iconic with Pokemon. Japan, of course, in Yokohama. Well, who can forget that? I think that Anaheim, there was maybe some question marks as far as, hey, what's going to be the theme? And I absolutely love it, especially the opening ceremonies when we just got to see a blending of all that different types of cultures and music. We saw some pop, we saw some rock, we saw some hip hop as well. Shout out, by the way, to the performers. Just such an incredible moment there for sure. But I just got to say, it's been such a fun time here working in the production team, working with these great casters. Again, big thank yous to everyone involved here on production, on staff, the casters. Big thank you to the competitors as well. Big thank you to the city of Anaheim for having us. But as you guys can see, we are ticking down to closing ceremonies here. We are so excited to take you into all the action. This is what we've been waiting for. Let's kick it back to the arena.
1 minute.
Closing in, and it seems like hope's all gone. Take my hand and we together will see the hero inside us leads on. Though our fate remains unknown, and these doubts, dark clouds in our minds, deep within something has grown, and that's how I know we'll always find the will to fight. Oh, fight to chase the darkest skies till the morning light. Oh, why know what lives inside? In the heart of a hero, a flame burns ever.
Don't know who it is, but it's good. It's got a good voice.
within us all. Tell me if we had to start from the beginning once again, would it be worth it? Retraced every single step that led us to this very moment, would you do it? Every high and every low, knowing just where the path would go. Every sacrifice we made, would you do it all again if we could stand up here and say, it's our time, we've been waiting so long, feels like forever. Now the moment has come, finally it's our time. We'll remember this day until forever. We can hold our hands high, come stand with me. It's our time. Come on. It's our time.
Look, let me take you all back to the scene of just a small town kid who believed. Growing up, I'd throw a ball against the wall and dream of making the league. When I got a starter, no, I really started a team. From the first loss to the first badge, our bond articulated what the words lacked. On the journey, pushing forward to evolve with my friends, I look back at every battle and I do it again.
Every high and every low,
And again and again,
knowing just where the path would go.
all the way up to victory road.
Every sacrifice we made,
No regrets, yo, I live for the game.
trainers, let me hear you say,
Let me hear you say it's our time.
we've been waiting so long, feels like forever. Now the moment has come, finally it's our time. We'll remember this day until forever. We can hold our hands high, come stand with me.
It's our
performances to close out this incredible World Championships we have had here for the Pokemon 2025. I'm getting choked up because I have no idea what to say after that.
The speed cut at the end of all the most recent champions crowned today. One, good work in the back production, killed it. Second, it's enough to bring a tear to your eye. And how about those performers, the orchestra as well, buzzing out here.
I know, the orchestra, the performers, the dancers, and we cannot thank you enough for tuning in at home, for being here, competing, for supporting all of the incredible players that were able to take our stage today during Championship Sunday, and for your love of the game of Pokemon. Thank you all so, so much.
I would say more, but that pretty much well rounds it up. And I don't know how much more time I'm going to have talking to an arena full of people, so I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of it here. Tomorrow might seem daunting, but every day you've made it past is a challenge overcome. You are loved, you are not alone, and Pokemon, and especially its community, is incredibly special.
I have an important question for you.
Yes.
Would you do it again?
Do all of it, or like just
Well,
the
come in.
t-shirts?
Well, all of it, you know, everything that Pokemon is so special for.
I don't think there is anyone in this room right now that if they could wind the clock back wouldn't take that opportunity to do, especially this weekend, all over again, and especially experience this arena for the first time all over again.
It really has been such an amazing experience here in Anaheim, California, and it is, again, in so large part to all of the people that are supporting us, not just our performers and, of course, our spectators, but all of our judges, our staff, our production team, everybody behind the scenes that have worked so hard to be able to put in such an amazing show for all of you. So please, give it up for them.
That's the most common through line through the Pokemon community. These events, whether it's your local store or the world stage, passion is key. Alliteration, play Pokemon with passion, gets it done, and 2025 is almost completely in the books, Rosemary.
I can't believe it. Feels like just yesterday we were over there in Hawaii, and now we are back for another World Championships, and we already know that another one is coming around the corner. Who's excited for 2026?
If this is any indication, we have something huge in store for next year. I know this is the first time we've gotten into an arena, and I sure as heck hope it's not the last time we're in an arena, because this thing is packed to the gills. People are gassed to the gills, and this is just for a single day of Pokemon action. Knocked it out of the park. It feels great.
I like what you did there with the alliteration, you know? Gassed with the gills, you know? I can't think of any more on top of that.
They saw me out there. They said, we need one person to step on stage that has shorts just slightly shorter than Necra's dress. I said, I'm your man. Get me up there. I know words.
T-shirt cannon guy, everybody.
I love that. If that's the mark that I've left on this whole thing, that's totally fine with me.
I love that. It's been such an incredible weekend, though. I mean, just looking back to the start of today, we got a chance to crown the Unite World Champions, Go Champions, TCG, and of course, just now, the video game. And we are so excited to be able to show you even more of what is to come. So please take a look.
Thank you to the Pokemon World's Philharmonic, to Michelle Ray, to Cam Steady, to Bryce Miller, the Pokemon World's dancers, all of you for delivering such a fantastic performance, honoring our heroes and commemorating the time we've all spent together. We've been evolving this event year after year, and we've come a long way from streaming in the humble ballrooms of the early days. This is my 10th year serving as your host.
Congrats to her, I guess.
And it has truly been my honor to learn and play with you as we all grow up together. Stop it, guys, gosh. This World Championship marks the end of this season's competitive road, from the locals and leagues to internationals, and everything in between. And each of you is the reason why Pokemon is so special. For me, it's the energy and community that each of you bring to the event. The trainers competing, the families and friends who support them, the viewers on stream, and every single staff member who makes the events come to life. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for such a special Worlds. But it isn't over yet. As you know, make some noise and please welcome to the stage the president and CEO of the Pokemon Company, Mr. Tsunekazu Ishihara!
まず新しい世界チャンピオンの皆さん、本当におめでとうございます。
First of all, congratulations to all of our newest world champions.
今週末に繰り広げられた素晴らしい対戦のおかげで最高の世界大会となりました。
You have given us an incredible performance this weekend, making it the best World Championships yet.
そしてこの大会を記憶に残る特別なものにしてくださった大会の皆さんにも感謝します。
And of course, a deep thanks to all of our wonderful staff who have made this world such a special memory for us all.
それではこれからポケモンの最新情報をお伝えしたいと思います。
And with that, now I would like to share some of the latest news for our Pokemon games with you all.
まずはこちらをご覧ください。
Please take a look at this.
Yep. Dark Skies event, it's already started.
「アナハイムにいらっしゃる皆さんには特別なプレゼントを準備しました。この閉会式が終わった後、アナハイムには無限ダイナが現れ、世界で初めて無限ダイマックスバトルができるようになります。
So as a special treat for everyone who is here in person, Eternatus will be appearing in the Anaheim area immediately after these ceremonies are concluded. And you will be among the first in the world to be able to try an Eternamax battle.
無限ダイナをポケモン GO で捕まえるチャンスなので、ぜひ他のトレーナーの皆さんと一緒にチャレンジしてみてください。
So please team up with your fellow trainers and try to catch Eternatus in Pokemon Go.
次にポケモントレーディングカードゲームポケットの最新情報をお伝えします。
Next, let's take a look at the latest news for Pokemon trading card game Pocket.
That's about Mega Evolution. Just spoiled.
ポケモントレーディングカードゲームポケットにもメガ進化がやってきます。秋のアップデートを楽しみにしていてください。
Mega Evolution is coming to Pokemon TCG Pocket 2. Please look forward to the update this fall.
またポケモンユナイトは4周年を迎えました。こちらの映像をご覧ください。
Pokemon Unite just celebrated its 4th anniversary. Let's see what's coming next.
Okay. Still never get into Unite. Ooh. Cool.
Now, 多くのポケモンや新要素が追加されますので、お楽しみにお待ちください。
We plan to introduce many, many more Pokemon and more updates to Pokemon Unite in the future, so please look forward to it.
続いてはポケモンカードゲームの最新情報をお知らせしたいと思います。こちらをご覧ください。
Next up, I'd like to share the latest news about the Pokemon trading card game with you all. Please take a look.
Which is the Mega Evolution set, which I think already came out or started coming out. Oh, neat. So Mega Pokemon are gonna VX. Oh cool, first look at Mega Dragonite EX.
Mega 進化 EX の登場でさらなる盛り上がりを見せるポケモンカードゲームを楽しみにしてください。
So with the release of these new Mega Evolution EX cards, the Pokemon TCG is going to be more exciting than ever.
次に2つの映像をお見せしたいと思います。
Next, I would like to show you 2 videos in a row.
Legends
Pokemon
EA.
Legends ZA introduces link battles in a whole new style. Get ready for intense 4-player mayhem in the ZA Battle Club. The time limit is 3 minutes. The trainer who defeats the most Pokemon will be the winner. The match has begun. At the start of the match, you can play it safe, go on the offensive, or collect items to power up with. Who knows where things will stand in 3 minutes? Here, Talonflame takes aim and strikes with Brave Bird, but it's blocked by trainer who defeated it earns 1 point. But there's no time to relax. Ampharos Mega evolves and immediately fires off Thunderbolt. A mighty hit. Gyarados has fainted. When your Pokemon faints, you can still rally and dive back in. This is still anyone's game. These trainers are back on their feet. They decide to switch out their Pokemon. 1.5 minutes left. We're halfway through. Mega Ampharos' battle with Go-Go is heating up. Whoa! Furfrou barrels in from the side with Hyper Voice. Both weakened battlers go down. That's 2 points at once. The trainer changes Pokemon again and presses on. 10 seconds left on the clock. And this trainer's full up on Mega Power. Dragonite Mega evolves. And it unleashes a raging Draco Meteor! That's all 3 opponents down! A huge upset in the final 10 seconds. Dragonite's trainer takes a clear victory. These furious 4-player battles await you in Pokemon Legends ZA, available to pre-order now.
Cool.
Here we go.
Pokemon Champions. A new Mega. It is showing off for the Mega Pokemon.
Pokemon Legends ZA はポケットモンスターシリーズの最
Welcome
新
in.
作で最大4人のプレイヤーとリアルタイムのオンラインバトルができます。
Pokemon Legends ZA is the latest entry in the main series Pokemon video game.
There you go.
With new real-time online battles of up to 4 players.
ポケモンチャンピオンズはポケモンならではの完成バトルに焦点を当てた2026年の世界大会ビデオゲーム部門で使われるタイトルです。
And Pokemon Champions focuses on the traditional turn-based battles that we all know and love of the Pokemon video games. And it will be the game played at the video game category at Pokemon World Championships 2026.
So when's it coming out?
メガ進化を存分に楽しむことができる2つのゲームをぜひ楽しみにしてください。
I hope you look forward to fully enjoying Mega Evolution in both of these upcoming titles.
さて、アナハイムで皆さんと一緒に過ごす時間は終わりに近づいてきましたが、来年のサンフランシスコはこれまでの世界大会がさらに大きく進化するイベントとなります。こちらをご覧ください。
Our time here in Anaheim is coming to a close, and now we look towards San Francisco next year, where we will see another big evolution in this event. Please take a look.
So it looks like mainline games taking a step away from turn-based completely. Going forward.
来年ポケモン XP と世界大会が同時に開催されるサンフランシスコでお会いできるのを楽しみにしています。
We will see you all again next year in San Francisco when Pokemon XP joins the Pokemon World Championships.
皆さんありがとうございました。
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We aim to evolve this event every year, and I can tell you that 2026 is going to be another step up in terms of size, wonder, and excitement. Now, though, the 2025 Pokemon World Championships has concluded. Our newest champions are now etched in Pokemon history. Thank you to all our friends here in California for welcoming us and making this weekend truly unforgettable. Don't forget, trainers, support your local community. Invite your friends, and tune in online. Until the road brings us together again, good luck, have fun, and we'll see you next year.
Alright everyone, I'll see you all in my next video, which will be tomorrow. It'll be my channel update. And then yeah. Alright everyone,